Sometimes we feel like we don't belong, but communities aren't places that we find or discover if we fit in or not. Communities are these places and these spaces that we get to make, construct, and build. And I think a lot about community. I think about that concept because when I was 16, I had my first experience not feeling like I was part of one. I traveled 14,000 kilometers across the world to study abroad in Tasmania. And I had many great times. But I also spent the first 4 months eating lunch alone, not talking in class, and writing poems about solitude. And I somewhat shamefully remember the day my mom called me brave and told me she was proud of me for going, because I spent most days with my body squeezed between these fissures and buildings with my cheeks flushed and these ropes of humiliation constricting and immobilizing me. But I also felt the skies joyously laugh on the days when a stranger smiled at me, or a classmate asked me, "Hey, where are you from?" Or when a teacher said, "How is your day going?" And I wanted those gestures, they made all the difference, and they could send my personal tempest home with its tail between its legs. Those simple points of contact and those acts of kindness and inclusion, they made all the difference. So I wanted to remember those things when I came home. I wanted to ask more questions and inquire more, and to just generally be nicer to the people in my life, whether that be the kid that sits next to me in Spanish class, my really good friends, or perfect strangers I find myself in line with at the grocery store. And when I came to college, I wanted to apply those lessons I'd learned. I was fortunate enough to walk into this building called Alpha, where I had the most incredible resident advisor, Savannah Jordan. She had love pouring out of her. She made me feel important when she listened, and she taught me the word empathy. She showed me what it looks like to so fully empathize with another person that it is as if you are feeling what they feel. To listen with your whole body in an attempt to understand their experience. And one day, she asked me if I wanted to be an RA, and I was like, no. Did I want to go on rounds and get people in trouble for breaking the rules and write reports? No. But she told me more about that job, about why she does it. And I began to realize that this loud mob of loquacious and loving individuals that filled our hallways and formed intramural sports teams, that piled into single dorm rooms to watch documentaries and Disney movies, this was a community. Even more than that, a family. Did I want to create a family for individuals coming to college? Did I want to be that person that asked someone how their day was going? Yeah, I think I did. And she created that space where community was possible by asking us questions and learning our names and networking us. And we had this space where curiosity and care defined our interactions. So I applied to be an RA. And I was so nervous because I had such big shoes to fill, and I wanted nothing more than to do that job justice. So I tied my tempest to a string like a kite, and I toted it as a reminder with me to Alpha. And so it began. Now, my dad taught middle school for many years, and when I would complain about my teachers not knowing my name by the 3rd or 4th month of school, he would go, "I used to remember 130 names by the first day of class." So I thought to myself, all right, challenge accepted. And my memory is not quite like my father's, but I did learn the names of my 54 residents. Not in a single day, but about 3. Because that's the very beginning, isn't it? Learning someone's name says you took the time to value his or her identity. It says you care. As I thought about other ways to let people know that I cared, I began to realize that through that care, you really can construct a community. If I call someone by their name each time I pass them in the hallway, That initiates an interaction of, hey, how are you? Which can progress into asking them how their day was, asking them what they learned, saying, tell me more about that. And that simple task of calling someone by their name and saying, tell me more about that, could habitually transform my 25-foot walk to the bathroom into this 30, 40, 50-minute affair. And I loved that. I loved it. But more importantly, me knowing each person's name sets a precedent for each and every one of us to learn each other's names. It means that I'm not the only one asking people how their days went, but there becomes this web of questioning that spins sunshine and weaves those laughing blue skies in our hallways. Moreover, those interactions can so easily transition into more meaningful conversations. That's when we begin to trade stories. And stories are what we're made of. So when we trade what we're made of, we trade the valuable parts of ourselves. And that can be a vulnerable thing sometimes. But being vulnerable is how we connect. It's how we build trust, it's how we reflect, and it's how we grow. And yeah, asking people questions about their beliefs and identities can be messy. I know that. But it can be a beautiful mess. It's about finding and making the conditions where it's okay to be vulnerable, where it's okay to be messy and confused and muddled as we try to understand. But if we are intentional with our words, if we are caring and inquisitive and kind, we will learn other people's stories. Because everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has valuable words and experiences, and they are worthy of sharing them. Listening is a gift that we can give each person of this world. So listen as if they are the most important person, because they probably are. We, as people of this world, owe it to ourselves, to the people we care about, and to the strangers we pass, to build spaces where it's okay to be vulnerable. Because if we're not in places that we can learn and grow as humans, what are we doing? We have to practice empathy and be compassionate. Because when we get in touch with that empathy, we connect through this humanity we share. And since we are all human, we all have these tempests that make walking through this world a courageous thing to do. Whether we are squeezed between buildings on campus at lunch or on top of a table with a megaphone in Red Square. But each of those ways of walking should be honored and valued. Because when we honor others, we construct a community. So I have real reason to know that nobody deserves to walk the canyons of this world feeling like they don't belong, not feeling welcome or accepted. Let us remember that none of us should be the reason that feeling exists in someone else. The friends of this world shouldn't be sitting on the sidelines, scared to ask to play, or passing by someone in the hallway without making eye contact. Because it comes down to this. We get to choose to make those spaces. So I ask you, do you know the names of the people sitting next to you? What can you tell me about the bus driver that takes you to class or to work every day? Or about the woman that makes you the same coffee order every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? I implore you, take your earbuds out, put your cell phone away, make a simple point of contact. Be vulnerable, have empathy. Ask someone how their day is. Because communities aren't these places that we stumble upon and discover if we fit in or not. Communities are places that we consciously construct, that we make, that we build. And it's all within our power.